We are on the fifth session today. Some of the participants who have joined last time, they couldn't know me, and I'm sure some of you would be knowing me, and some of you still trying to explore who exactly your facilitator or faculty or teacher come, the coach is with you. So this is our Dr. Anubha Walia. I'm the founder of Prism Philosophy. I'm an international trainer, consultant, author, and a speaker. Having a good 20 years of rich experience, have been worked with Honeywell, ICICI Bank, Moody's ICL. There I was taking care of L&D as a function. So that's a small snippet about me. So let us now, I'll just see my screen just went out. I would once again reshare my screen. I don't know what happened. Just give me a second, please. Right. So, okay. Yes. So thank you so much for this and understanding. Okay. We are having a various courses, and thanks to ISTD who have been providing such a wonderful courses for the, professionals like you all. And let's take that forward from the last 4 sessions that we have already done. Um, we will maintain certain tips and hygiene for the session, which we always do. And today we will be having again activity with the case study, which will be shared with all of you, and you have to resolve it. So to give you a quick review, those who were not there in the last session, but yes, those who were present, they would know. We covered about the overview of HR. We understood the concept of HR people and workforce. We understood the benefits of HR analytics. Understood the importance of HR analytics with the various challenges that we have. In the session 2, we talked about the various tools and the career options which is available. Session 3 focused on the training and development matrices, which was focusing on the LMS and LRS, and how to use data into the training improvisation. When I talk about the last session which we had, it was on recruitment matrix. We tried to understand the measures, approaches, with including the types of various matrices which we can use into the recruitment, and what are the ways to benchmark it. So today my session will focus into the workforce modeling, which is a very important element. And here today I'm going to highlight HR as a business partner with the workforce analytics, and what are the 5 easy steps for the workforce analysis, right? Okay, so in the last session, as I mentioned, we did a small, snippet in a breakout room, and a lot of students did ask me about the descriptive analysis and where exactly they can know about the stats. So this is the book which is of mine, and you can buy it and refer it for your future reference. Okay, so what exactly is workforce modeling analytics? Let me make you explain here that it's I would say, an attempt to understand how an organization's human capital, need would change as a function. So this is what I have mentioned on the screen for all of you, and this highlights into the organizational environment. So the change may be a shift in the demand for the organization's product, entry into the new market, diversification of one of the organization businesses, uh, pending acquisition probably, mergers with another organization. And if you will see currently, it's work from home. Pandemic, the new normal taking a shape in a very great manner. And this is what you will find a lot of time that the people are too busy, and you can see on the screen that yes, how we all have become so habitual doing sessions online, in through home, while sitting at home, and you all are attending, and imagine it's on Sunday we are doing it. Okay, so that's the beauty. So the connect of business strategy to the people reporting, Now, workforce analysis software actually, I would say, fall under the broad umbrella of people analytics. It is refers to all aspect of acquiring and managing employees. Now, the idea behind workforce analytics have shifted greatly as a result of a technological innovation that offers employees data. So in modern technology, I would say modern workforce analytics digs deeper, wields more influence and presents itself more visually. So the application helps enterprises leader to develop and improve recruiting methods, makes hiring decision, and it keeps the best worker with the company. So the processes have streamlined in a best possible manner. It helps manager to predict the probability of an individual employee success. It can also identify the new department's positions. It can determine which departments or position can be reassigned or eliminate. It can identify, quantify physical risks to employees in a special position. And the factors that influence employee engagement and the job satisfaction. So assign and delegate responsibility of task and goals, optimization of enterprises organization structure, they're all example of this. Now, for an example, in 2017, a life science research organization used workforce analysis tools to examine headcount, diversity, employee performance as a way to augment the company's organization setup. Meanwhile, this company, I would say the life science research organization, uh, I would say another example, like a hospital using a workforce analytics products was able to discover that open job requisition had doubled to, I would say, 500 over a 2 years period. And that has resulted the time to fill the available position increased. And it armed this with the data. The hospital hired more recruitment staff to deal with the requisition surge. So you will find that, effective HR would have the three specific role. And these specific roles are center of excellence with the specific HR expertise like global mobility, performance management, compensation benefits, and more. So shared services, which is the customer facing part of HR, and the business facing, which is embedded with HR, it includes the business partner role. So, on the screen, if you will see, I have given the aspect of HR return on investment scale, that how it started from personal management to HRM to strategic human resource management, and today it is potential added value, right? Now, there are a great setup which has been done, but for me, it is very important to share how the HR as a business partner is coming up in a very different roles altogether. And these roles are categorized from process to people versus future to day operation. So you can see on my screen on the right hand side of the grid. Okay, so it's very important to understand here, and I'm going to ask you some set of question here too. So when you are into day to day operations, and you are handling some set of processes, you become administrative expert, right? Now, when you are doing day-to-day operations, but you are involved with people, all the processes are there, but your more engagement is with the people, there you become employee champion. So now let's understand from the strategic aspect. So if you are on the processes side with the future strategic focus, you become a strategic partner. So that is where the role of HR comes. In fact, let me tell you, you can be as an HR admin expert also. You can be an employee champion also. You can be a strategic partner. But for me, if you'll ask me personally, I would say that you need to be focusing on the periphery of change agent. That means you're focusing on the people, you're focusing on the strategic approach, right? So if I have to ask all of you, all the audience who's here attending my session, what role are you in? Are you an administrative expert? Are you an employee champion? Are you a strategic partner, or are you a change agent? Anyone from the group? Please unmute yourself and share.
May I, Dr. Anubha?
Yes, all yours, Kalwani,
Okay.
Kavlani, sir. Yes.
Okay, so basically, I am not from the HR domain. I am from learning and development. Okay, so basically, my job profile, if I look at it, I am more of a change agent because I bring about the changes based on the organization's vision. So first, I understand the vision of the organization, current competencies of the people, and based on that, I design the program to bring about those competency changes in people, or maybe develop those skills which will help the organization to achieve their its objective.
Amazing. Very nice. So that's very nice. So since how long you have been doing this change engagement role?
So basically, I am into learning and development for the past 10 years. I have a total experience of 20 years, but in learning and development, I have been in, for 10 years. Initial few years, it was more of like operational, but now for the past 4 or 5 years, I have been training the first line managers, second line managers, and senior leaders in the organization. Okay, which that's what because I'm actually running one project on building the coaching culture in organization. Okay, so that itself is a very big project spanning around 3 years. Okay, so right now we are at stage 2, level 2. That is, we have just completed 2 years, one more year to go.
Okay, okay, interesting. Very nice, very nice. Thank you so much, Mulidhar sir. It was really nice to interact with you, and I'm happy to understand your change agent role. So, I mean, I'm sure the audience would have also understood that yes, the role is with the people, with the focus, very much clear focus in the mind, and it's futuristic, right? Okay. Anybody would like to share what role are you in apart from change agent? Anyone? So even if you will tell me administrative expert, I would be really honored because you become the master of a subject, you know. Anyone?
May I?
Yes, Anupam.
Yeah. Presently, I am a serving army officer, and
Oh.
we keep getting exposure to varying places. I have all through my career been an operations man, as frontline operation and as the operational plan. But my present assignment is more like a change agent. I am actually training and teaching middle level officers who are now transiting from the first line hands-on operational guys to more of the middle level managers, unit commanders, handling around 500 to 1,000 people and planning the operations and organizations for them. So in that, my job is primarily to take the people from, make them, facilitate the change from one level to the other level for those officers.
Wow. Okay. Very nice, Anupam sir, for sharing this. Amazing. So being into the facilitation role and handling people with the ops per side, so you are employee champion moving towards strategic partner, and soon you will be into the change agent change agent hat wearing person. Thank you so much. So thank both of you. So you will understand that when we talk about all kind of requirement as a business partner, There are many different competency models for the human resource business partners. And right now, Mullidhar sir did mention about the competency element, and they're into the process of the coaching environment, the coaching, they're looking at as a different platform altogether to bring the set of the expertise in the people. So the core competencies required may differ between the organizations also. So not every organization has an equal mature HR function, and they access to reliable data and analytics and a different level of involvement of HR in the organization. So first of all the business partners should understand HR process and activities. So both in general and in the cultural context of the region, the I would say HRBP, so I'm making it as a short name, is operating in. So this is the requirement to provide the business with the advice and to implement excellent HR services. Now, when you're able to connect business challenges to HR activities, this could be including outcomes. Now, to give you an example, when a factory in I'll give you an example of this, I would say Indonesia. Yeah. So this factory in Indonesia, they needed to open the HRBP. They should be able to identify which people challenges need to be tackled first and how they need to take that action. So being able to connect business challenges to the HR activities is probably one of the hardest competencies to master, right? So when you're able to read dashboard and analyze the data, you should be able to use the HR dashboard and report, analyze, and the entire data, which is based on the data given advice. So what happens, you need to have a very strong contextual understanding of the business as well as the local and the cultural issue relevant in the territory. So in Indonesia, so that's what they were finding. So there is a diversity of the people. So when the business is looking to open a production facility in Indonesia, they were looking for a different data. And then when you have an attrition problem in your, let's say, Indian facilities, you need to have a good understanding of the business and the business priorities. So I'll refer to as a business acumen, business sense, or a business savvy. That's the right words to use. So it represents the keenness and the quickness in understanding and dealing with the business risk and opportunity in a way that leads to a good outcome. Now, this can include knowing the business you are in, including the sources of uh, competitive advantages, market values, competitors, unique selling points, market share, and development, or even understanding the marketplace, the role of technology, a deep understanding of the relevant stakeholders that you're dealing with. So the excellent stakeholder management, in order to get the things done in business, you need to understand a little bit of a political landscape, right? So you need to be aware of what others are aware of, in the interest of the focus of a different business and HR leader. To give you an example, if there is a consensus on the challenges, it is much easier to come up with HR intervention that are supported by the business than when there is no consensus. So HR becomes a very important role. Now, for this, you need to have an excellent communication and presentation skills, because to manage stakeholders effectively and to support the business through value adding initiatives, the HRBP needs excellent communicator and a presenter. They form a connection between HR and a business. So there is a responsibility to pick up key signals. Okay. And for effective, at a dealing with the resistance also, again, you need what? Communication and presentation skills. So you should be effective in dealing with the resistance. Also by understanding your kind of communication skills that you have, how strong you're in your presentation skills. And with this, you should be able to operate a tactical and a strategic level orientation. So competencies like stakeholder management, dealing with resistance, communication skills, it involves more tactical level skills. Why? While understanding the business, connecting challenges to HR activities, and having a deep understanding of the business, and being able to look at the problems from a multiple perspectives are more strategic skills, right? So it's very important to differentiate between tactical and strategic. So effective assessment of the strategic and the tactical aptitude of HRBP is a key for success in their role. So the role becomes very, very important. Now, if you will see what exactly business partners are contributing are on the performance, uh, providing the business benefits, maximizing the employee engagement. They actually improve people management activities. These are the set of competencies we are looking at. And you will find that the business intelligence, the workforce analytics obtain many significant benefits, which I've mentioned on the screen. You can see that 14% year-on-year improvement in revenue per employee, 20% decrease in unnecessary overtime payment, and so on. So these are the kind of things we consider, and for that we work on the data. Now, what you will find is, as I was mentioning, the owned by the institution, which is driven and facilitated by HR, we need institution leaders, we need HRBP, and we need COE, who are center of excellence, right? Now, when I see COE, they are of the process and the quality guidelines people. They really know what are the status quo. They really know what kind of templates to use. Their objective is very clear. They work with a single source of data. They ensure whatever they're doing, they communicate to the stakeholders. They ensure that the training is given to the immediate people who are required for the subject. So those are the role of the COE. When I talk about the process facilitation, it is about workforce analytics, which needs to be facilitated, and you need to plan the process with an institution managers. End of the day, we want to implement because we have to ensure the result. So that's the role of an HRBP. Now, institution leaders, they are the one who are a strategic guidance. They are the one who institute the scenarios. And then finally, it's from the deployment aspect, they manage the implementation and the communication bit. Okay. When I go deep dive into the analytics, I will say that you need to move from I think to I know. So you can't use a statement like, I think the reason of people leaving, blah, blah, blah. So it can't be I think. It has to be I know why people are leaving XYZ. So you will see that, when the things on a measurement continuum, with the less powerful to the more powerful. So anecdotes are the one which is on the experience which you share as a story, right? Based on that, you will find some set of reactive checks we do, so quality professionals, those who are in Six Sigma, those who are into the TQM, or those who are handling the quality circles, or any aspect of the TQM umbrella, or even for that matter, project management. They keep doing a reality check. What exactly is challenges we are facing? And then based on the reality checks, they share the reports. Now, when we do anecdotes, reactive checks, ongoing reports, based on then that we create a benchmarks, So in an industry, you create a differentiation with your other set of competitors, organizations, and so on. Now, the great analytics people, what they do is they move from the benchmark to the correlation. They want to know the variable factors of X and Y, that how strongly they are related. And that is how they will work on the forecasting. They will get to know after a year what is expected. So almost like if you will see 6 months back, a lot of research company did a forecasting, about work from home and how. So there are two set of things they forecasted, that the problems people would be facing while working from home, versus how productive the people will become while they're working from home. So it's all about forecasting. And then based on then we become predictive, and we use a lot of statistical approach to check onto the aspect of becoming more powerful, to predict and prescribe what should be the new thing we should be doing. So to give you an example here, let me share a example from the fashion industry. So I mean, right now, if I'm taking my session with you all, so in the fashion designers have started designing clothes which are very comfortable. It's a smart casual, right? Where, because it's visible on the screen, and it kind of a lounge wear. So they have already predicted that, based on the anecdotes, reality checks, ongoing reports, correlation, forecasting, and you will see that things have started changing in the fashion industry. You will see no more people doing ramp shows, whereas people have started doing ramp shows with the various different models altogether through robots walking on the screen, and where the designers showcase their clothes, where the robots are wearing, and they make you look how it looks on you. So from think to know, it's very, very important transition. Now for this, when I'm talking here, it's a foundational versus advanced aspect. uh, we use dashboards for monitoring, but we need analytics for advanced aspect. Now, when I talk about for the foundational one, if I say what exactly when I'm talking about into the dashboard, I look for the counts, I look for the rates, I look for the tabulation, isn't it? But when I talk about the advance, I'm working on the cause and effect relationship. I want to know that if this is the effect, what was the cause for these effect? So just to give you an example here, so let's do a very smart, interesting exercise, right? Are you excited all to do a small exercise here? Okay, thumbs up. All right. So let's think, and I'm just giving a hypothetical aspect. Okay, so don't take it to your heart. Let's presume Hemant Dhingra failed in maths paper in class 10th. So this is an effect. Hemant Dhingra failed in maths paper in class 10th exam. ठीक है जी? Now, tell me what could be the various causes of Hemant failing in maths paper? You can use the chat.
नहीं मैं कुछ पूछ रहा हूँ कि नानी की सेवा करते हो नानी
Yes. Who will share why Hemant failed in maths paper? What could be the cause? So I see someone writing on the chat box. I'll read out. No, the person didn't prepare. Thank you, Yashaswini. Okay, maths teacher was not good, as per Yamini. Ritu Malik says he was playing whole day. Also, it could be a maths phobia. Okay, Binita says prepared for a social science instead of maths. Wow, 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 wow. Very nice. This seems to be an experienced person sharing this. Okay, Heyman says lack of interest in maths. Okay, good, good. All right. Okay, any other cause? Okay, less interest. Bhumi, distraction by social media. Thank you, Sushmita. Shivani saying he doesn't like the subject. Maybe he was sick by Kinush. Oh, right. A paper was difficult by Binita. Shweta Suki, paper was very, very tough. Okay. Anubha says, I'm saying he forgot to carry his iCard. Ah, lovely. Kinush says caught cheating. You know what? Kinush, seems you would have probably caught cheating once in your lifetime. This is an experience you're sharing. Just taking in a lighter note. Okay, Vinita says he wrote the answer, teacher corrected it wrongly. Oh God, thank you so much. I like that variation. Beautiful. Okay, Yashaswini says due to the lockdown he failed. Okay. Hemant Dhingra, Kinush, meet me afterwards. Oh, both of you, please talk to each other later. Okay. Vijendra says misunderstood maths exam date. Oh, could be possible. Yes, yes. Very nice, very nice. So, can you see all of you on the chat box? I got so many causes, right? Now, here, when there are so many causes, effect is that Hemant failed a maths paper. now you can very well understand that here I am now going to talk about the correlation aspect, which will talk on the cause and effect aspect. So here we do the analytics. That means all the 20 thoughts, all the 20 causes will pull out the data, and then we will do the correlation or the scatter diagram with the effect, and we will get to know which one has a strong correlation, and then we will identify which was the real reason of making Hemant failed in maths paper. So it's a deep dive activity, right? Now, in foundational, we work on what concept for the information. So what is happening? What is our turnover rate? How many promotions did we do? What are our span of control, and so on. But when I talk about advanced here, I talk about why and where. That is, I want to know why only 20 participants joined today's session. Why do lateral moves make employee promotable? Why do people quit? Why experience drive employee engagement? Why people are working and having a long relationship within an organization, you know? So that's how you come up. So what versus why is a very, very important, uh, you know, uh, open-ended question which you need to ask. Now the use. So the use into the foundation is you are into reporting, you are into tracking, you are monitoring trends. This is what we all have been doing in the current scenario, right? I mean, in an age, whether you're a part of marketing, finance, HR, whatever, you are doing reporting, you are making a progress, you're sharing the trends, and then you get to know. And then you talk about, sir, on year growth, we were at this percentage. On quarter basis, this is how we have grown. You know, our fortnight rate says this much, or you know, a daily run rate says this much. So we are monitoring trends and so on. Whereas when I talk about the advance, I'm talking about the strategy making, I'm talking about the forecasting, I'm talking about the problem solving. So that is why where I use statistical model technique. I could be using cluster modeling, I could be using multivariate analysis, I could be using chi-square, I could be using regression. There are so many things which are available. Question here is which tool to use when. If you have not having an idea into it, you will be, you know, wasting your lot of time. So using the right information at right time is really required, right? Okay. So workforce analytics, you know, if you will see, it is nothing but a strategies for combining data element into matrix and for examine change in metrics or the magnitude of the relationship among them. So you will see that such analysis can inform managers about the current and the changing state of human capital in an organization in a way that can impact the decision. So these analyses then determine what metrics the organization needs, what data elements are relevant and need to be captured, and how these data elements should be combined. So effort of HR metrics is to inform management about human capital. Now, one of the way we use is benchmarking data, which is useful in that it provides insight into the organization relative standing, you know, and it could be an insight into the level of outcome that might be possible. So a challenge in using HR metrics for benchmarking is that human resource practice and its use for HR staff reflect current challenges faced by the organization. That's the beautiful of this. Okay. So as a result, most organization you will find they will have an HR department, but the specific function performed by these departments vary widely across the organization. Right? So that becomes a big challenging stuff. So let's understand when we're talking about the data.
Can I ask a question before you move? Ma'am, you use two words here, analysis and analytics.
Yeah.
So I understand. So what is the difference and where do we use them? Like if I want to say that I'm part of what we are doing is analytics, or we are relying on analysis to do analytics. How is the usage actual?
Acha, I'll give you with a simple example, Vinita. Okay. What is the age group of our people joining today's session? Analysis. This is called analysis. Why? Because you will just go check the data, take out the age, and you will take the analysis. Analytics is how can we use the potential of the people join today's session for the strategic role. That is analytics. So we'll work on the competencies of the people who have joined the today's session by using the various variables, by working on the various parameters, by then finding and using the statistical aspect. So the analytics is the future aspect. Analysis is already things have happened. So I've explained this very strongly, Vinita, in my first session. I would really request to please go through my first YouTube video.
Okay, sorry, ma'am. I was
No,
not
no, no,
there.
no, absolutely good with that. So, that's how it works on. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Vinita, for asking this. Okay. So, workforce analytics, as I was mentioned, now we were focusing on the big data. Now, big data works on 3 V's: volume, variety, and velocity. And again, in my first and the second session, I have already highlighted what are the various challenges we face in the data management, right? There's a lot of challenges that we face. So big data is often seen as a very valuable because it offers volume, variety, and velocity. When it offers volume, because it provides a large amount of data on which analysis can be based on. Benita, this is the answer for you. That's when the volume is already there. So a lot of people joining and using Facebook. If I want to know what kind of people are coming and you joining Facebook, what exactly they are viewing. So these are the one which gets used. That exactly is the analysis part. Okay. And when I talk about, so in most of the cases, I would say the data sets as large as several hundred and thousand instances, which are sufficient to identify useful trends. Although there are instances which vary from volume of data may permit some additional insight. So big data actually offers another aspect which we call variety through access to a wider range of data element. So the new insights may be generated, by incorporating new types of data into analysis, which that were probably or previously were not available in the organization. So the caution here is, though these organizations have a tendency to conduct these analysis independent of their existing data that managers currently use to make the decision. So as I mentioned, example of social media, for instance, can be mined to identify characteristics of applicants who may be a high performers. But the more important question is whether these data provide incremental validity for selecting employees beyond the practice organizations are currently using to make the hiring decision better. Now, when I talked about volume, I talked about variety. Let's understand another aspect called velocity. Now velocity refers to the speed at which data can be generated. So velocity is the big data characteristics which is most likely to consistently create a value for organization. Now with respect to big data, when I refer velocity, how quickly organization can generate data on which we can conduct the analysis by shortening the decision cycle. And that is why where we use the great tools which we covered in the second session. So there are free tools, there are paid tools. Okay, so workforce analytics versus organization effectiveness. Now, change in the data available, to the organization, they actually allow them to take a great advantage of today's more capable assessment. And you will find that despite reporting more metrics with a greater frequency to a wider group of manager, many HR professionals who generate HR reports question whether these efforts have a significant impact on the organization effectiveness or not. So, these individual reports frustration with their inability to get managers to first tell them what information they need. Second, read or use the HR metrics, HR metric data included in existing report. Third, uh, even acknowledge receipts of the reports. That's a challenge. So these perception points of fundamental challenges and opportunities will keep improving will be there, and it will have an impact on the workforce analytics. So again, as I said, the individual report frustration, as I mentioned, so many times I have seen we don't know what information we need. We just say, take this out, pull this data out, pull this dashboard out. And then after some time, the boss will say, add this element into it. Just try to give me this figure from this particular date to this particular date. And then you are, in a confused state. You will say, okay, what exactly they are looking at, So as a professional of HR analytics, you should be knowing what kind of set of questions you need to be asking.
May I?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Anubhav.
For analytics to work correctly and for you to be able to make out meaningful predictions or forecasts, you require a humongous volume of data.
Yes.
Unless the data size is adequately big, you will not be able to make correct predictions for whatever you are wanting to do. So that brings me to the question, what is the size of the organizations which will actually be using this kind of analytic tools? Because to my mind, as I see, a medium or a smallish organization will not be able to use it for some time unless it has been in the business for long enough and it has got a variety of a wide volume of data available to it.
Right. Okay. Rightly said by you. I will give you the answer from the statistician. Now, some organization don't have various data. Like when I say various data, the volume aspect. So what we do is there is something called we pick some samples. Okay. When I pick up the samples, I will use 30 sample. So whatever analysis I will use and apply the analysis with the 30 samples, whatever the answer I will get, I will apply the same for the entire population.
So basically, you are extrapolating.
You have to.
You are taking a small sample size, and then based on that small sample size, you are extrapolating that if the sample size remains big also, this is what is most likely going to happen.
Most likely going to happen, right? So here you do a prediction. And then in that prediction, what will happen is you will do a pilot study. So the minimum sample size that we say is 30, and then so on. But yes, more the sample, better it is. And you will find that best of the organization, whether it is, Harvard, Ohio, or, or CIPD, whenever they are doing a research. So even if they are wanting to know, for an example, what are the problem faced by the people while working from home, they did not do it with the entire fraternity of the people working in the organization. They handpick, they do a sample check, and they will do a sample study. So the sample could be for the 1,000 people or 2,000 people or 3,000 people, which is easy to get. And based on that, they will do a analysis.
It is something like what the pollsters use for poll predictions on a sample size.
Sample size.
But then the success of the entire project will depend on what is the integrity of the sample and how correct the sample has been chosen.
Absolutely true, sir. And also what your strategic business partners are looking at. The importance are your stakeholders. Very important.
Thanks.
Right? Okay. Thank you, Anupam. All right. So the two common and predictable outcomes I have seen is, firstly, what they say is individual tasked with developing and reporting HR metrics in an organization, they struggle to determine which metrics to report and how this metric should be calculated. I was waiting for this. So I must appreciate Anupam for coming up this. So this was my next thing to share. Second, as a result of the first outcome, what I mentioned right now, because they really don't know which metrics to report and which metrics to, calculate. Uh, the organization subsequently, they report large number of metrics because there is uh, no prior basis of choosing which is likely to be more useful, ultimately have a little or no impact on decision making and therefore offer no return on the organization. So that's the another challenge. So my suggestion is that we should be very, very, clear and sure what exactly we're looking at. Okay. All right. So another aspect is maximizing the impact of workforce analytics. Now, this is another aspect that has to be taken very strongly, because you will find that more effective workforce analytics efforts are basically those that they attend to both potential contribution and the cost of the analysis. So each workforce, analysis, uh, the effort has a potential return on investment. So individuals and organizations are responsible for managing workforce analytics. Their efforts are important, that needs to be recognized, and accordingly we need to see the deployment of the decisions that we take, right? So with this, let's try and furthermore understand the evaluation part of the workforce analysis and opportunities. uh, there are various ways, you will find that HR process efficiency, with the operational efficiency, with the strategic realignment, and starting with the end in mind. So these are the various analysis opportunities you will find strongly gets used. So a substantial amount of workforce analysis and reporting addresses, addresses the administrative process of efficiency, become the focus. That's the key focus. So in this area, the very important aspect of metrics would be including cost per hire, days to fill position, percentage of performance review completed on time, HR department cost as a percentage of total cost versus the percentage of total sales. So many things of HR process efficiency do comes in. You will find in many cases base level proficiency in HR proficiency, HR process efficiency, analytics is viewed uh, as a necessary to create credibility for HRM manager. So how well HR processes are, they need to be executed, has a limited potential to impact the organization effectiveness. So your processes need to be very streamlined, and you should be knowing how to show the effectiveness and the growth for the organization. Now, when I talk about the operational efficiency, we are talking about, very smartly here for the recruitment, selection, training, job design, engagement, and so on. End of the day, the objective is to identify the opportunity to improve the operational outcomes through the improved human capital interventions. So this requires an analyst to utilize the technical competencies as well. Then you will find that we have a strategic realignment. It involves a set of activities which most commonly today known as human resource planning, HRP. Now these planning efforts focus on both long-term plan to ensure replacement of the labor power need to operate on an organization, as well as planning for needed strategic change for an organization. So let me share the example of Boeing. They engage the number of efforts to ensure that it will have a sufficient number of engineers available to the staff operation in future years, as a company faces the approaching retirement of the large portion of its engineering workforce. So they started strategically realigning. I will give you another very simple example of a company where they had a open involvement of the people by asking them to come and join the organization. I'm talking about in 1955. This company I can't name, but this company is a very big manufacturing hub. And in 1955, they just said, okay, please come and join our organization. And the people joined on the, in the assembly line without considering it was in 2000. So if we calculate from 1955 to 2000, people are almost like 55 years, right? And they, after 5 years, they would be retiring. There exactly the strategic realignment happened. So they were very, no, I would not say confused, but they were, they pull up the socks, heads were up, they were saying, yes, it's a new thing which we never realized. Because if 2000 people joined in 1955, that means 2000 people would be exiting in 2000 year. Where will they get that kind of workforce? And then the set of training which has already been given to them from the last 50 years, right? So that's how the new situations start coming in the places. And finally, we say starting with the end in mind. So the key to generating impactful workforce analysis is to begin by identifying big problems or the opportunities, I would say. So the effective approach to the surfacing potential problems is to identify either through the existing data or discussing with the managers those areas of a greatest challenge or opportunities in the organization, right? So once these areas of opportunities are identified, the next step is to identify the organizational outcome. It is associated with the opportunity, understanding what the outcome variables would change and how to solve the problem and how to capture the opportunity. So that's how you will find an outcome variable might be sales, level of scrap, on-time shipment, and so on. So these outcomes will only be get to know if you have the number driven. Okay. All right. Let's try and understand the steps which are really important. These 5 steps are starting with impact in mind. Don't silos your thinking. Avoid data smog. Be aware of shiny new toy. Make it stick. So let's start one at a time. They say start with impact in mind. Now, when we say this, you should be knowing how to collect the data, which metrics to choose, how to report the metrics, how to further analyze the findings, and how to assess the impact. So your business impact analysis of the workforce intelligence is absolutely based on the workforce analytics. So first we analyze by using descriptive statistics. Then we use analytics, which is of workforce analytics. From there, we use the workforce intelligence, which will have an impact on the business by using the HR platform. So the shift is to be very, very flawless. So the second step, they say, don't silos your thinking. I have seen the major problem here with the people, they are not able to uncover the people's issue. So just to give you an example, I've given you 6 statements here, which is very important, the mindset of your senior leadership, and you will get to know. What do you believe are the biggest people challenges created by the company's business strategy? Look at the kind of questions that we are asking. So asking the right set of questions to have the desired impact in your organization, we really need to do that. So are you looking for attracting the right people, retaining people, developing them, or cutting people costs? You should be very clear on that. What talent groups or categories will be critically important to achieving your strategic goal? So imagine the kind of talent we are looking at. So the headhunting becomes very, very important here. What would you say that your talent acquisition strategy is characterized by a build or a buy strategy? So imagine we are looking towards the future, and you need to strategize it with the change that you're going to bring into the talent acquisition. It's about a workforce development. It's absolutely about what strategy you want to follow and put into the place. And then accordingly, you go and further figure it out what exactly you want from the system, from the management, and so on. So it's very important to uncover various people issues. Most of the time HR find it pretty struggling to figure it out how to do that. Third, avoid data smog. Now when I say this about the data smog, uh, there is a human capital, there is a customer data, there's a financial data, there's an operation data, and we know the kind of data that we are working on these things. I'll not go into the deep dive, which is already visible on the screen. So data smog actually refers, I would say, the overwhelming amount of data and information. Now often obtained through an internet search, you will see those volume serves more to confuse the user than illuminating on a topic. It deals with the influence of the information technology revolution and how vast amount of information is available online actually make increasingly difficult to separate the facts from the fiction. So you should be very, very clear how to assemble the data. I'm sorry for this. All right. Okay, then there are great practices the people have been doing to the data engine. So they evaluate the readiness before assembling. They explain the criteria, by including the data. They start small and build gradually and drive value. So what they've seen, even if they use a simple data, they generate a very strong impact. And so on. They don't strive for perfection just in one go. They're pretty transparent, and they try to disclose the data source. They try to, manage and process it out, the things which is undergone currently. So continually tuning your engine is really important. So that has to be taken care. The step 4, be aware of shiny new toys. Please, I know there are a lot of good tools which are available. What I have seen, suddenly we learn something new and we start representing our data by using those particular tools. Please don't do that. Don't just I always say back to basics is the most simple thing. So the technology and the data integrity is the only half of the solution. You need to consider the time for the change management, communication, and understanding. It's my intention and your interpretation both have to be aligned, because the interpretation will lead to a change. And finally, make it stick. For your performance, you need to educate, you need to tell the story to the people, you need to evaluate the measure, you need to generate the new insight, you need to ask the people that how we can make it further more impactful for the organization. So that is how you need to make it stick. So these are the 5 steps that we wonderfully use it. Okay. All right. So for all of you, I have a very strong case study. I'm putting it into the chat box for all of you. You can read it on your free time. It's on anubhavalia.wordpress.com. As I mentioned, if you forget the blog, please go to the Google, write my name, Anubha Valia. By default, WordPress link will come, and just write staffing data. Just write staffing on the search, you will get this case. But anyhow, I've given it to you all to read it. Okay. All right. So guys, we'll have a small case study for all of you. We have half an hour with us. I'm going to give you all 15 minutes to work on this case. So this case is, so I would request to please click this case on your mobile phone, because it will be very difficult to share the screen. Okay, so the case says regional hospital is a 500-bed hospital and has several associated clinics in a major East Coastal metropolitan area. It has been an aggressive adopter of computing technologies in effort to decrease cost and improve operational efficiencies. A critical challenge facing the hospital is meeting its ongoing challenge to the staff, the hospital and the allied clinic effectively, given the ongoing shortages of nurses, uncertainty in healthcare legislation, emphasis on the shortening hospital stay to reduce cost, which causes the daily census, that is number of patients in various departments, to vary dramatically from day to day, shift to shift, continued aging of the population in its primary care area, and the unending competition of the employees with the key skill set. Employees' expenses represent more than 80% of the overall cost of the operation of the hospital. So, identifying ways to match optimal skills and the number of employees to the appropriate shift is critical to achieving consistent success. However, interval shifts manager struggles to make effective staffing decisions, resulting in consistent overstaffing or understaffing of shifts and departments. These staffing problems potentially increases the high cost of varied level of patient care and satisfaction, and potentially increase the risk that staff turnover may escalate because of dissatisfaction with the continuing inability of manager to match staffing need demand. Company managers recognize the potential that the HR metrics and analytics might have for their organization, and they have to come up with your help. They're hearing from their peer in the other hospital that metrics can help in the area, but they're not quite sure where to start. They're looking for you to offer a guidance on how to do HR metrics and workforce analytics. Okay, so the case study questions are, you can again click it. How do you believe that a program of HR metrics and workforce analytics might be useful in the regional hospital? If so, why? What opportunities do you see regarding where and how metrics and analytics might be applied in the organization? You need to identify 3 analysis and associated metrics you think might be useful for regional hospital. How might regional hospital utilize benchmarking as a part of metrics and analytics effort? And as per you, what advice would you offer to the managers at regional hospital about developing a program of HR metrics and the workforce analytics? And the 6th question, what potential problem might occur in the establishment of the HR metrics and workforce analytics program for regional hospital management, about which you would want to alert them prior to the beginning of this project? I hope the case is clear. You all can click this case study and I'll put you all in a breakout room. Are we good? Okay, so I hope you have written the case study question. Please click it on your mobile phone. If you've done that, kindly show me thumbs up. Okay, thank you. So I'm putting you all in a breakout room. Please join the breakout rooms. It's all open. We will close the breakout room in next 12 minutes.
Hello.
Okay, welcome back.
Ma'am, time was very less, sorry to say.
Time was less. Okay. Tell me the solution then. I know the time was less. Tell me the option, please. What shall we do?
That's okay, ma'am. Give us 5 minutes and we'll discuss something here only. No need to send us back to the rooms, but give us time to discuss. Or while we are answering, let us have more discussions, because we definitely have ideas, but we are not able to settle those down. We can do it as a one big group while we are discussing the answers.
Okay. So we are sitting at 7:20. Are you okay to do that? I have no problem.
The problem will only be fifth and sixth question. Most of us wouldn't have been able to discuss that. So we can discuss
Okay.
a larger group.
Okay. Let me put you all in the breakout room back, or you want to discuss it here only?
We can discuss it here only.
We can discuss it here, ma'am. It will
Okay,
be all
done.
good,
Done,
ma'am.
done. Do it. All right. All yours, all yours. Okay. So we'll discuss. We'll start here only. I think let's take the question number 1. Do you believe that a program of HR metrics and a workforce analytics might be useful in a regional hospital? I'm sharing my screen right again. Yes. Who will like to respond? Which group will go?
So, ma'am, Benita here. I was with Anupam, Murli, Yamini, and Sushmita.
Okay.
We thought that yes, it will be extremely useful, basically because 80% of the cost of the hospital comes from employee cost. So that is one of the very important analysis for operating cost also. And on the other side, the operational cost is what they want. The second line, okay, I'm just trying to read, but aapne kiya to mera yaad hai. The employee expenses represent 80% of the overall cost. So yes, it is very crucial. And what they require is matching optimum skills to the number of employees. So even in that, the analytics is one of the most important things which will help them do that. So yes, it is the answer is yes.
Ma'am, may I add to this?
Please, all yours, all yours.
Yeah, so just a moment. Yes, so there is also one line where last fourth line in the first para says individual shift managers struggle to make effective staffing decisions. So basically, when one struggles to make decisions, then at that time analytics do help. So yes, the answer is definitely yes. Adding to what Vinita already said.
Adding to this part, ma'am, like the shortage of nurse staff, the uncertainty with the legislation, etc., for the healthcare, it is. I feel like it is mandatory that we should use the HR metrics over there. I mean, the analytics metrics over there to understand the inflow and the outflow of the patients, what time they are coming, what is the legislation says that each shift should have so many nurses or so many healthcare people should be there. So those things will be all can be studied deeply with the analytics part. The inflow, outflow, what time there's a rush of patients, and all those things will be done through analytics itself. So it is important. It's very important, I feel.
And ma'am, it is already mentioned that it may potentially increase the risk that the staff turnover may escalate.
Yes. Okay.
So because of this dissatisfaction, they need to take certain measures, and for that, it is a must. A yes.
Okay.
And one more reason, the effective allocation of employees, because because of that reason.
Once you have.
Sorry, your voice went haywire. Sorry, I couldn't place you. Heman.
Ma'am, I was just saying, like, with respect to that, there is a competency matrix can be developed for all the employees, like skill set, etc. Based on that, the salary benchmarking. I mean, it's not salary benchmarking, salary corrections experience can be done. For this one, like all the data should be there, compiled data in the IT section, like in the information part, the database.
Also, one very important point that you discussed before, giving out this case study is, 80% of the staff is, aging. So there would arise a need to replace the staff at some point of time. So, if they need to employ some people so that the transition remains, that period remains
Amazing.
smoother. That too will need workforce analytics.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, nice thought. I quite like that thought. So, what opportunities do you see regarding where and how metrics and analytics might be applied in this organization?
The hospital, may I, ma'am?
Yeah, yeah, please, all yours. Anu.
Uh, I was along with Sushmita, Yamini, Binita, and Murli.
Mhm.
What we thought was that the hospital needs to work on two major issues. One is what are the optimal manning levels as far as the hospital is concerned, and how to run the hospital most efficiently.
Hmm.
Running in of hospital the most efficiently has got implications on the patient care, the way the patient care is being given, and with the way the technology upgradation or the kind of facilities that can be provided in the hospital, as also the money that is going to be spent in doing both these things. So first thing that probably needs to be done is to see as to what is the what needs to be analyzed is what is the kind of patients that are coming in, which departments are having a major patient load. All that needs to be analyzed, and thereafter the manning levels of each and every department need to be worked out in consonance with what are the patient workload or the patient load on that particular department. And then next is what is the kind of patient load that they are having. Is it very basic care, or is it very high level medical care that is being required? That will enable them to do the competency mapping. What kind of competencies are required in each and every department? And then also this will be able to give them as to what is the money that is required, because each and everything that is required in the hospital requires certain amount of money to maintain and to run. If a particular department does not have that kind of a caseload or does not require that kind of specializations, it is futile maintaining those kind of facilities at a number more than numbers that are required. Next analytics that will probably need to be done is one of the issues that has been mentioned here is aging population in the areas.
Right.
Aging population in the area needs to be connected with as to how is the quality or how is the type of care that is being provided in the hospital, or the requirements of the hospital are varying. And as the population ages, probably more and more specialities and more different kind of facilities would be required. That those analytics will enable a hospital to chart out a future course for itself as to how should the hospital look in over a period of time. Then aspects like how is the staff being employed? Is the staff being employed only in technical work? Is it being employed in technical and administrative work? What kind of an administrative work can be outsourced, can be given, can be substituted by technology? All those metrics will enable the hospital to work out a more efficient course for itself.
Okay.
And not only the study must be done on the employee section also, but also on the patients that are coming, whether they are OPD or whether they are IPD, how much time they are spending, what is the kind of service they are getting, how much time they are spending in the hospital, like from the time they get registered and from the time they leave the premises. So that will actually help to find out where exactly is the bottleneck, which department needs more resources, or which is understaffed or which is overstaffed right now. So, I mean, not only on the employee section, but on the patient section has to be done.
Absolutely. We mentioned it. That is the numbers, the type, and the time spent. All these three aspects, as far as the patients are concerned, requires to be done. Only then a matching between the requirement and the availability can be worked out.
Yes, and also not to mention, that is also a way to see where the dissatisfaction is, popping out the most.
Sorry, Bhumi, can you please repeat it?
Yes. So Anupam, where the dissatisfaction level of the staff, not
Absolutely.
only
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Where is it lying? Which area is it lying the most? That also helps out.
Yes.
Okay. So nice thoughts. I will not give any kind of answer right now. So we've just right now covered kind of 2 questions. Let's do this way. I have another session, guys, at 7:30. All right. So I need to, hard stop at that particular time. We will start with the same case study in the next week so that we understand what exactly happened in this hospital case. Will that be good with everybody?
Sure, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you just ask
Yes,
someone to
ma'am.
share this one on the through email, ma'am, so that we can go through again one more
I
time
would
in detail?
suggest, okay, so quickly, I'm just sharing my mail ID right now, okay? If you have a common mail ID of ISTD, please share with me, or else send me a mail personally. I will, send this case on the email ID.
Sure, ma'am. I'll share it, ma'am.
Right, anubhavali@gmail.com, right?
Sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, before you go, can you just show the slide with step 1 again? I missed that slide.
The step 1 you are saying of what I was mentioning, this one?
Yes.
Start with impact in mind?
हाँ, yes, ma'am. Uska.
This?
Yes, ma'am. Bas.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Got it.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much and have a lovely evening. Bye. Take care.